Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and today's Tuesday, which means it's time for Art Around the World. And for the month of January, we're doing India, and this is the last Tuesday, so this will be the last one. So I kind of wanted to give a wrap-up of sort of the 4 art movements, some art that's kind of at risk at dying out, and some final thoughts. So let's begin. The first sort of major art movement was prehistoric. And this started sort of early Indian art of, paintings, engravings, carvings, and these dated all the way back to 8000 BC. And you can further sort of divide this group into subgroups of prehistoric art, which is like cave paintings and drawings, some Indus Valley art, Mauryan art, Buddhist art, and Gupta art. So things found in those areas were sort of metal sculptures, terracotta figurines, relief sculptures like this one, and paintings. And here you can sort of see horses and chariots, and these look like warriors with bows and arrows. Is very, very beautiful. The second one I want to talk about is medieval, sort of a medieval time period of art, and it was a whole art movement. And this was typically either really huge paintings that covered walls like murals, or sculptures made of bronze and copper. And in grand temples like this one, there was sort of a culmination of all different art styles put together that could be seen and found together. And I think that's incredibly beautiful. And you can see that a lot of the color is still on and hasn't been worn off. And that's just gorgeous. The third sort of era was the Colonial Era. So, without getting too much into British imperial rule within India, but there was arts educators, scientists, leaders, they were doing what they could when British rule was taking place. And there was sort of a surgence of the Mughal depictions of traditions and art forms, and miniatures, like very miniature tiny paintings in huge detail, became very popular. During this sort of colonial rule, the British influence and school of thought had a major influence on the art styles and all the artworks. And once the colonial era came to an end, you then got the Bengali Renaissance, which is considered an art movement that took place from sort of the late 18th century to the early 20th century. And this started by the emergence of development of sort of the cultural characteristics of the Bengali people. So this was a socio-political awakening in all the fields of intellectual inquiry. And this movement sort of questioned all the existing customs and rituals within Indian society. So there was a huge art awakening at this time, and questioning of the caste system and dowries and all the things. And the Bengali School of Art, which was an art movement and a style of Indian painting. So in order to sort of counter the Western style of art taught under this British colonization, Indian styles of art like Mughal and Rajput were modernized. And I'm going to attempt to pronounce this name. There was a gentleman by the name of Abhinavanath Tagore, and he was successful in doing this modernization of these art styles, and this helped them be accepted and promoted within British art institutions. So he was able to get Britain to accept different India styles by modernizing them. And I think that's just amazing. There are some very specific art styles that are dying out. And this kind of has to do with the fact that there are so many different art forms in every individual region of India. There's just so many. So this is one of the rare ones that I think is absolutely beautiful. And if you can see her hand to my hand, you can tell this is going to be something incredibly time consuming. And this is called Rokhan Painting, and this is a form of cloth painting. So this uses vegetable dyes, castor oil, and this is like a 6-inch metal rod or, stylus. And you basically boil castor oil for 2 days and then add vegetable pigments and a binding agent. And you use really dark fabric and you just dot the fabric over and over and over and over and over again to create this art form. Now, it's said that there are only 6 living people currently that practice this art. And it is the Khatri family in the Kutch area of Rajasthan. So I'm really hoping that with articles and places talking about this, that another generation will get enthused and take up some of these things that are just absolutely beautiful and breathtaking. The second art form, this one's already seeing a bit of a resurgence. And this one is Parsi Embroidery. And this is all sort of nature motifs. And this is traditionally done on saris, which are clothing that folks wear. It's traditional clothing of India. And it's sort of, this is the intrinsic part of Indian heritage. And this style of embroidery dates back to the early Bronze Age. And each outfit takes about 9 months to complete. And this started to die out because of mass production of clothing. But there has been an uptick in embroidery, and people are rediscovering how beautiful and amazing this one is. And I will link, Google Arts did a specific thing on Parsi embroidery, and if you want to see some of these up close, it'll blow your mind. It's absolutely phenomenal. The last one I want to talk about is an art form called Dakra Art, and this is sort of a non-ferrous metal casting using a lost wax technique. Now, I haven't talked a lot about sculpture in India, but there is so much. And this one in particular dates back 4,000 years, and it's still being made today. And despite there being a growing demand for this specific type of art, artisans and tribes that are very specific to practicing this artwork are dying out. So they haven't found a way to sort of traditionalize this or come up with a quicker, more efficient way to create this sculpture technique to keep it from dying. So I really hope that some of these articles and newspapers writing about this bring more attention to some of these things, and maybe an increase in demand will bring about new innovation in creating some of this stuff. Now, the other thing I didn't talk about was architecture. And there is so much beautiful architecture in India. And there's structures, tombs, World Heritage sites. So what I'm going to do, in the description box, I'll link articles talking about all these specific things. And then I'm going to link, so Google Arts and Culture did a whole section on the wonders of India. And it is phenomenal. It is such a thoughtful curation of all these different beautiful art forms and things going on. And you can do 3D tours and look at stuff up close. It is absolutely beautiful. I know a lot of us are stuck at home. There's COVID. It's a thing. We can still see and appreciate beauty around the world. So I will link that. yeah, the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, Rani Kaviv. It's called, there's the Golden Temple. There's so many different beautiful architectural things you can see. And I also want to just thank you. Thank you for spending time with me as I talk about India and the art. I appreciate you showing up and watching and going on this adventure with me. It has been absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to see what February will bring. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.